Okay, in this lesson, we've got a lot going on. It's called factoring polynomials. We're going to use special products and factorization techniques to factor polynomials. We're going to find the domains of radical expressions. We're going to use synthetic division to factor polynomials of degree 3 or more. And we're going to use the rational zero theorem to find the real zeros of polynomials. These are all review items from your previous course. This is a calculus course, so it expects that you have that college algebra down, but we're going to review it, but it's going to be rather quickly. So make sure that you search for additional help, reach out when you need it. If some of these things are not just review for you, you think that you need a little bit more in-depth learning, feel free to reach out and ask for some help. Okay, applying the quadratic formula. You remember the quadratic formula. X equals, here we go, X equals, so let's start with that. X equals the opposite of B. The way I'm saying it is actually a really accurate way to say it. So X equals the opposite of B plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. All over, just on the right hand side of the equal sign, all over 2A. So we'll use the quadratic formula to find all the real zeros, just the real ones. 4x squared plus 6x plus 1. A equals 4. B equals 6, and C equals 1. So X equals the opposite of 6 plus or minus the square root of B squared, which is 36, minus 4AC. And that's the extent of what I do in my head. I literally write down my problem just like this, times 2A, which would be 8. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 16 all over 8. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 20 all over 8. I wrote that a little large, so I'm going to have to come back here now, do a little shrinky dinking. You know, when I was little, they had these things called shrinky dinks. So you colored it, it was real size, you colored it, and then you put the little plastic thing that was made to go in an oven. You put it in an oven or a toaster oven, and you just watched it shrink. It's kind of like writing on a balloon and popping it and then looking at the writing on the balloon. Coolest thing. Coolest thing ever, almost, since sliced bread. Okay, so negative 6 plus or minus 2 times the square root of 5 all over 8. And then what goes into negative 6? 2 and 8. That would be a 2. So negative 3 plus or minus the square root of 5 all over 4. So there's two answers there. Negative 3 plus the square root of 5 all over 4, and negative 3 minus the square root of 5 all over 4. Okay, let's try this one again, or another one again. A equals 1, B equals 6, and C equals 9. X equals the opposite of 6 plus or minus the square root of B squared minus 4AC all over 2A. 2 times 1 is 2. Negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 36, which is 0, and the square root of 0 is 0, so negative 6 plus or minus 0 over 2. Well, negative 6 plus 0 is the same as negative 6 minus 0. So that's just negative 6 over 2, which is negative 3. So X equals negative 3. And if you remember, there's a multiplicity, something going on here. So let me show you what's happening when you've got that. So you've only got one real zero at X equals negative 3. You've got a parabola that's opening up and is tangent to the x-axis. So it's an x-intercept, but it's a multiplicity of 2. Therefore, when it touches the x-axis, it's going to look like a quadratic. Multiplicity of 2 looks like a quadratic. Okay, 2x squared minus 6x plus 5. A equals 2, B equals -6, and C equals 5. Okay, you go ahead and try this. See if you can get the answer that I'm going to work down to. So press pause or just work ahead. The opposite of -6 is +6, plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 4 times 2 times 5, all over 4. X equals +6 plus or minus the square root of 36 minus 40. That's -4, all over 4. Well, this isn't real right here. So the square root of a negative number is not real. So, not real. Therefore, since they wanted all real zeros, therefore, no real zeros. Okay, in the next video, we'll come back and we'll solve by factoring.